Welcome to Conversations with KidCareCanada. To discuss our topic, protecting our kids, we have two very qualified guests, and they come from quite different backgrounds, but I think you're going to find some surprising overlap. Our first guest is Dr. Dee Hoyano. Dee,
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
So in a minute, I'm going to ask you to share with us a key message. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Dee Hoyano. I'm a public health physician. Right now I'm working with the Island Health Authority, and I'm also a mother, 2 young girls, and I am a member of the community. And for me, public health medicine is really the work of trying to protect our community and improve the health of the population. And I think that I've become more and more in touch with that as I try to raise my own kids in this community and think about how we can build a society that really helps take care of all children.
You shared some of your passion with me about why you chose that field, and if we have a chance, we'll come back to it. Right now, you had a little bit more that you wanted to say about what you felt would be a key message for parents.
I think with the message that I want to share, and I think it's partly talking to myself as well, is that to raise healthy kids, we don't need to be perfect parents, but we need to try to be present for them. And we also need to realize that we need a community of support to support children and ourselves as parents.
So what does it mean for you to be present?
I think for me, being present is really, and I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but I think it's really making that intentional effort to be in the moment. When you're with your children, to be with them, to be able to listen to them, to be able to help them, and also to be present to your own self and your needs, and be able to take care of those things as well.
Yes.
And just really to, I think it's so easy to get distracted by worries that we have with the tasks that we think we need to finish, getting dinner on the table, making sure we have employment and things like that. But it is a practice of being present in the moment, and that helps our kids because that's what they need from us as parents.
One of the videos that we saw in a previous show was with Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who's well known for mindfulness, and he says that babies and children are present, and so that is an excellent point. So you've alluded to some of the things that get in the way of parents being present. What are some of the stressors that you just mentioned that are very real for many families today?
Yeah, and I think there are a lot, and unfortunately it can be very complex. I think there's a lot of external stressors. Families today, many are struggling with employment and income. They're working long hours. There's worries about housing and affording it. Childcare is a huge one, and we just don't right now have enough quality childcare. And then there's also the internal stressors. So, internally as parents, adults, we may be struggling with relationship issues, with mental health issues, and even just anxiety about, how are we doing as parents, and worrying about how we're performing, and even just, the day-to-day things that can cause us anxiety.
So you've mentioned that children need parents to be present. How does technology get in the way there?
Yeah, technology is another one, and I think it's something that we are seeing more and more. Just out on the street, the allure of cell phones and kids and parents using them a lot. I think in some cases we are using them too much. And so I think as parents we need to be really intentional about how we're using technology and look at whether or not it's interfering with our relationships, not only with our children, but sometimes with our partners as well, or other people in our lives. And so I think that's really important as a parent to think about how you're modeling, how you're using technology. And I think on the other side of the children, I think it's really important that parents know that really that iPad or that cell phone or that television program is not going to replace, an interaction, a human interaction. And especially we know that scientific evidence is showing that, there's probably very little value of those sorts of things for very young children under 2 years of age, and certainly, for any age, the quality of a human interaction and a learning opportunity is going to be much more than what can be used, just using technology.
Dr. Tom Boyce sums up some of the things that you've been talking about and says what children really need in a very short video that we're going to take a look at now.
Mm-hmm.
Lifelong health and well-being of human beings is built on sort of three foundations. The first is an environment of relationships, of positive, supportive relationships that begin with the connection between a little infant and its parents, but then extends on into friendships with peers as they go into the preschool period, extends then on into intimate relationships in adult life. But this first foundation of development and health being built on relationships is one foundation. A second is the need for protective and safe physical environment. Children need to be safe within their worlds, and this includes everything from being sure that the electrical plugs in the home are covered so that a young child doesn't get into trouble with experimenting with electricity, to being sure that our environment within the society that we live is not a toxic environment, but is a healthful, beneficial environment. And then the third foundation is nutrition, that children also need to be fed and eat well, to be given the protein and all of the different food groups that are a part of a healthy human diet. And children need all forms of food, of protein, of fats that come in milk and other foods, vegetables and fruits. They need a balanced diet. And they need minimal exposure to the kind of fast food offerings that are so prevalent and so abundant out there within contemporary society.
Dr. Boyce has referred to some of the things that you've already mentioned, the importance of these supportive relationships. He talks about nutrition, and he also talks about safety. Is that something that you wanted to talk with us about as well?
Yes, I think as a public health physician, I know that injury is actually one of the most, the most common reason for death and for major illness in children. And so I think that, that the need to create supportive but safe environments is really important for children. And, it really changes as children get older. So there's different things to think about at every stage of life. Particularly for the early years, some of the most important things are, using car seats properly, avoiding issues where children may be vulnerable to falls. And burns is another issue too. So typically that's kids either getting scalds from hot surfaces, heating in the house. And so that's something that parents also need to think about, especially as their kids get more mobile.
You see, helping to avoid falls. What kind of falls are you referring to here? I don't think you're referring to little kids toppling over when they're walking.
Yeah, no, that's not. It's really more falls from heights and stairs, for example, obviously when children are starting to learn how to crawl and how to walk. And also windows. Unfortunately, sometimes kids do fall out of windows. They're curious, they're exploring the worlds, and they don't realize that that can be a danger of, just falling out of a window or a balcony that's not secured.
How safe are screens on windows?
I think it's important that everyone looks at their own home and sees what is in place, and sometimes you need to make some modifications or just make sure that children are really well supervised when you're in some environments like that.
And when they're physically safe like that, then what can happen for the child?
Yeah, I think I think two things. One, it gives you as a parent some peace of mind, and also lets children do what they normally do, which is to explore their world and to develop their skills and learn. And so really when we can do that hand in hand, that's the best way to have healthy development.
You've mentioned to me that one of the things that shocked you was seeing children who were maybe 7 or 8 years of age and they had never been allowed to hold a knife. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think I didn't mention, but I also in community work as a Girl Guide leader, and so that's just an experience that one of the leaders shared with me. And so I think really it struck me because it showed me the variety and the level of skills in children, but also that children need an opportunity to explore the world and develop their skills. And so for something, basically a life skill of learning how to prepare food, we need to give children the opportunity to do that in an age-appropriate way, but in a way that they can. So for example, using a knife, certainly children can learn how to use a knife even at very young ages, but they need to be properly supervised and instructed so that they can build those skills.
Great. What other things can parents do to protect their children?
For me as a physician, I think immunization is a really important one. I know that, I guess I would like to let parents know that immunization has really been one of the most important and impactful public health interventions of all time in terms of saving the lives of children and avoiding disease. And I think it's really important that people realize that, immunizations are safe and they help prevent not only the child themselves who's protected, but the whole community. Because when we have high levels of immunization, then we can't have large outbreaks of disease, as we've seen historically, and which have been devastating in previous centuries and decades.
One of the things that surprises me is that many people of the parents I speak with have some fears around immunization, and yet every physician, pediatrician, health nurse I know fully immunizes their children. And so I always feel they must know something that the public doesn't know. So thank you very much for this, and thank you for coming with us today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
It's been lovely to have you. Thank you. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, you'll get to meet a different doctor, Dr. Enid Elliott.
A child's early years are foundational for lifelong mental and physical health. KidCareCanada Society is a charitable organization incorporated in the province of British Columbia. We seek to empower families to raise their children to be socially and emotionally healthy, and ensure families and those who support them have easy access to relevant, current research at no cost to the end user. Our appealing videos, now being captioned in various languages, feature world-renowned experts and real families. To access these videos and other free resources, log on to KidCareCanada.org.
Welcome back. We're talking about protecting our kids. Our second guest is a different kind of doctor, Dr. Enid Elliott. Enid, what kind of doctor are you?
Actually, I'm a doctor. My PhD is in early childhood education, and my focus was babies and toddlers.
Yeah. And do you work as an academic anywhere, or do you?
I am. I'm on faculty at Camosun College in the Early Learning and Care Department, and at UVic as an adjunct professor. And I'm an early childhood educator and a mother and a grandmother. So I've watched a crop of young people become parents, which is really lovely. And I set up, I guess babies and toddlers was my passion that I focused my PhD on. And I set up the program helped set up the program at Artemis Place, which is a program for young parents. It's connected to a school that runs for young young people who need a safe place to finish their education, and so we set up a program for young mothers whose babies and toddlers needed to be cared for while they finished their education. And I learned so much from those young moms and those babies. And after that, I started to become interested in how we could get our children outside more, and how childcare programs could maybe naturalize their outside spaces. And I kind of moved from that into helping set up a nature kindergarten in the Sauk School District. And I've been researching there, and it's now going into its 5th year of operation. And I thought it was a good idea when we started to set it up, but I have to say that now I think it's a great idea. What I see happening with the children, I see such confidence, such strong, such a wonderful welcome into school to be able to spend every morning outdoors with their class and their teacher and an early childhood educator. So it's been a wonderful experience to watch those children teach me about how they are outside in what a beautiful place we live in, and they begin to know their place and understand this world we live in.
Is this the only area where there are outdoor kindergartens?
Well, no, there aren't. In Northern Europe, they've been going for probably 40 to 50 years. They started in Scandinavia and kind of spread to Germany and Switzerland, and they now are here in Canada, as well as Australia and New Zealand, have been developing these programs. And, in each area they're slightly different, but I think we are a beautiful country and a beautiful place to be, and BC is particularly wonderful.
So one of the things that you've shared with me is about this opportunity for children to take risks when they're in the out of doors.
I think that's what's really an interesting piece about being outside, is that children can take risks and do take risks. In a way, I've been thinking about it less as, taking risks, but more that as they play outside, they challenge their abilities so that they build their capability to climb higher, or they try to walk across a slippery, mossy log, knowing it's slippery, and they learn how to balance. They also learn how to fall, which we also, in life, we need to fall and we need to be able to get up again.
So what can parents do in this area? Say they have younger children and they want to take them outdoors. What should their attitude be?
Well, it's interesting because I think that now one of the trends I see in our communities is that we want to protect our children, and I think that that's a normal instinct of parents, and we want them to be safe, but I think that can sometimes get in the way. So I think it can be a challenge for us to stand back sometimes and let them take risks that they feel capable of, because I think most children have a sense of their abilities, and as they test their abilities, they push them a little further and they know more what they can do. But they need to learn how to take risks and how to moderate those risks as well.
So we're going to see a little clip with Dr. Adele Diamond talking about how to start young.
Everything you're doing is problem solving, and we can help you with that. Instead of getting all worried about whether you're Einstein yet and are you brilliant yet. The best thing we can do to help is to give you self-confidence that you can do things on your own and you can succeed, and that the world's a safe place, a place you can trust, a place that's not too scary to explore in. Some people worry about doing the wrong thing. Yeah. And my mom used to say, just love your baby. Yeah. Just love your child. Everything else will follow. Yeah. You do the textbook perfect thing and it's not coming from the right place, it's no good. Yeah. And you do kind of the wrong thing, but it comes from the right place, it works out. It works out.
What stands out for you from that video?
Well, I was interested I started thinking as I was watching it and thinking that as, as adults, we do try and keep our children safe. But I thought not only do we want them to see the world as welcoming and that we can be safe in the world, that we can learn to be safe, and that people who are more knowledgeable can help us be safe in the world. But the world is also an interesting place, and a place that we can be curious about and that we can learn from. And so I think that as parents, as adults involved with young children, that's one thing that we can do, is help present interesting things for them, present challenges that we know they're capable of. And I think as adults or parents, we need to be ready to kind of welcome them into the world and encourage them to try their abilities. And we need to believe that they are capable. Like your last speaker was talking about knives. And when I went to Denmark and was at a forest school in Denmark, I was really interested to see 4-year-olds using knives and whittling. And they were perfectly capable of doing it. And I asked the head educator there, and he said he never had an accident with the knives, and he'd been there 17 years. So I think sometimes we, in our desire to protect, maybe get too protective.
That's an excellent point. Because you have all this expertise with babies and young children, can you tell us a little bit too about something you shared with me about parents who really want to help their children learn to sit or learn to walk?
Oh, I think, yeah, this is interesting, because sometimes I think we want to protect children, so we do protect children, but then I'm interested that we put children in a sitting position before they actually can get into a sitting position themselves. And if we do that, they don't know how to get down from it because they didn't learn how to get up in it. So and we do sometimes try and get them to walk before they're really ready to walk. And the thing is, babies will sit when they're ready to sit, and they will pull to stand when they're ready. And they do it when their muscles are ready and they are pulled to do it. And so I think we maybe get in the way of that by not just allowing children to grow as they're going to grow. And it really doesn't matter whether they walk at 9 months or they walk at 15 months. Because really when they're 12, you'll never know which one did what.
So some of the other things that we've talked about, this is really helpful, by the way. I think that many of our viewers are going to be surprised by those comments, and they're going to be very relieved to hear them. One of the other things we talked about was quality time with children, and it was a video that we didn't have time to show right now. But can you remember what you were thinking when you watched that video?
Well, I guess, I think that I was thinking a bit about the idea that spending time with children and spending it outside and sharing your love, your passion for whatever is outside is so important. And I don't think it has to be like, you know the names of all the plants. You don't need to know the names of the plants. I mean, I have this favorite tree that I look at outside my window and I walk past, and I love that tree, and I actually don't know what it's called. There's so many things that I think that are part of our world that we're interested in, that we can share with our children. And because they love us, they want to know what we're interested in, and they want to hear what you're passionate about. And if you're passionate about, chances are you'll make it interesting to them. So,
I like the comment that you made with me, which is there are no guarantees in life. So really, what can we do?
Well, I think we have relationships with children where we're having conversations with them, and we find out what they're interested in as well. Because when I walk with the children outside, I'm always intrigued what conversations happen. And a lot of times it's about whatever stick they've picked up and whatever video game it may connect with. But you know what? We're outside and we're picking up sticks. And so if it connects to a video game, I find out about it.
I wish we could continue this conversation. Right now, though, I need to thank you for coming.
Well, thank you. I had a great time.
Oh. And thank you for joining us for Conversations with KidCare Canada. We hope you'll join us again. To learn more about KidCare Canada, log on to the website, KidCareCanada.org. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and remember, we're here to support you on your journey as a parent.